Welcome, dear viewers, to our channel. Today we will talk about the British newspaper The Guardian, which described the ban on UNRWA as putting Israel on the path to becoming a rogue state. The Guardian published an editorial stating that the Knesset's decision to prevent the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East UNRWA from operating in the occupied Palestinian territories is a sign of the emergence of a lawless state. It stated that banning UNRWA without an alternative will cripple support for Palestinians in times of crisis, and it is an irresponsible step by Israeli Knesset members. The newspaper noted that the extreme right-wing government in Israel is recklessly working to turn the country into a rogue state by escalating confrontations with the United Nations, which is considered a serious deviation from international accountability. From its Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and below, there are signs of blatant contempt for international norms that cover human rights. It added that Hamas's attacks on October 7, 2023, against Israel ignited the current crisis, but Israel's response was clearly disproportionate, as it destroyed schools, hospitals, and shelters, leading to the deaths of tens of thousands of civilians. A year after the outbreak of war in Gaza, evidence supporting claims of Israel committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza has increased. The UN Human Rights Commissioner, Volker Turk, condemned the Israeli army for effectively exposing the residents of northern Gaza to bombing, siege, and the risk of starvation. The Guardian pointed out that Israel killed UN staff in Gaza and attacked UN facilities in Lebanon. Israeli officials have often accused the United Nations of anti-Semitism. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres was also prevented from entering Israel due to his failure to condemn the missile attack launched by Iran on Israel in October 2024. However, by voting to prevent UNRWA from operating in the occupied Palestinian territories, the Israeli Knesset undermined the essential services it provides to Palestinian refugees without providing an alternative, according to the newspaper. The newspaper stated that this move reveals irresponsible behavior towards international organizations. Undermining the work of the United Nations and its humanitarian agencies, which protect civilians and alleviate emergency conditions, is unjustifiable, and no one can defend it. These organizations are considered pillars of governance and international law. While this system may not be perfect or complete, it remains important for protecting what could be a semblance of the international order, if not justice within global relations, according to the report. The newspaper comments that the United States and its allies have shielded Israel from the consequences of its actions, and Washington could stop the war tomorrow by halting the flow of arms and imposing a ceasefire on both sides, leading to the release of Israeli prisoners in Gaza, and it should do so immediately. However, U.S. policy has become paralyzed due to the need to win elections, where criticizing Israeli actions is considered unacceptable. The United Nations rightly emphasizes that the double standards practiced by the United States undermine international law and its enforcement. This hypocrisy creates competing standards of justice, linking crimes against humanity to the strategic value of the state. The newspaper states that we can see this disparity in the final statement of the recent BRICS summit, which acknowledged the interim measures taken by the International Court of Justice against Israel, aimed at preventing genocide and violations of the Geneva Convention. The United States and its allies, such as Britain, cannot ignore Israel's violations of international law, as complicity in war crimes reflects a disregard for civilian lives. However, Israeli soldiers are rarely held accountable for their actions. The decision of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2024 reflects a global consensus that peace depends on dismantling illegal settlements and the withdrawal of Israeli military forces. Playing a mediating role in peace between Israel and the Palestinians depends on the United Nations' ability to enforce its decisions. The dysfunction in the United Nations Security Council reflects this, as major powers use the Middle East as a playground for political gains. In the absence of a new approach, tangible progress in the peace process in the region is unlikely. The United States must rein in Israel to initiate a viable international peace process. Without that, any basis for peace collapses, according to the newspaper. Thank you for following us. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.